Hi, my name is Maier, and I'd like to welcome you to my assignment 3, application of the SAMR model for classroom technology integration. So the topic that I chose that did not involve technology that I performed in nursing school and that many other people had to do in nursing school are nursing care plans. For my education, this was all written down. There was no technology involved in this whatsoever. The teacher would hand out a care plan at the beginning of each semester, and we were expected to finish the care plan on any of the patients that we came across that would be good for the care plan at our own time, and then we would submit the care plan. And care plans include 4 components, one being a diagnosis, where we would have to do at least a couple of nursing diagnoses that would pertain to the patient that we were working with. Also include outcomes and goals, both for the short and the long term for each patient. The nursing orders and interventions. This is where the action is based on the diagnosis. We developed outcomes here. Some outcome examples include providing medications, assessing vital signs, or their pain on a scale of 0 to 10. Here's a situation where there's like a lot of specifics in here. It's really the meat and potatoes of the care plan. And then you have to also include an evaluation. So their status has to be monitored, and the plan has to be updated as necessary. As progress is made to the goals, it's important for the nurse to determine whether orders need to change or whether they're okay how they are. And then in this, I also added this picture. It's a handwritten institutional care plan, which is kind of like the example that I used in my own class. So here's an example of our starting point where it's a handwritten and there is a template, it looks like, created by the nursing instructor to prompt them of things that need to be added. So I will get to how we will modify the nursing care plan from the written perspective to meet the SAMR model. But I just wanted to go over each stage of the SAMR model to give a background of each stage that I learned about. First one being substitution. This is really no functional change, but as a tool substitute. Augmentation is a tool substitute, and it slightly improves the function of the lesson. Modification includes a significant technological redesign, and redefinition includes new tasks created by technology that weren't really thought of or weren't really able to be even thought of before this change. So going from least technology advancement to most technology advancement, starting with substitution, how we would change the care plan is change from a written care plan to using a word processing machine like Microsoft Word, but using the same template. The teacher sends the students a template including interventions, diagnosis, evaluation, goals, outcomes. All those would be set up like the previous slide, just into columns like so. Augmentation, it would use the same word processor like Microsoft Words and use that same template that I just talked about, but the improvement would be that there'd be a tablet supplied at clinical for students to use to find the best evidence-based practice regarding all 4 categories of the care plans, so that students could advance it via technology from the tablet. Modification would include no template. The student would be responsible for creating everything on a website, like, for example, Glogster, which we've used in SUNY Delhi. This is a program where you can add So you make like a poster, but you can add also voice recording and video, which would both be required to submit for the care plan. And then the redefinition, this is the inconceivably done before. Also would include no template. It would be like a simulation that students would do in the simulation laboratory. There could be, for example, 3 to 4 students per group. One of the students would be the patient, one would be the nurse, one could record. Each classmate has a role, like I said, and one of them would be the patient, would say their symptoms and all the rest. The nurse would evaluate them. The recorder would write down the nursing care plan, and it would go over each of these things in a video simulation. And then the video simulation of the care plan and coming up with everything, all the components of the care plan would be published to YouTube so that multiple people could see it all over the world. Microsoft Word, YouTube, and Glogster are the 3 technological devices used to transform nursing care plans via the SAMR model. Microsoft Word is the most commonly used word processor. That's where most people write papers. That's what it's used for SUNY Delhi's nursing program and many other programs for writing papers. You have the ability to use spell check. You have the ability to use a thesaurus on it, a dictionary. So this is a word processing used here. YouTube is pretty commonly known as well. It is a website that you can upload videos, you can comment on videos, you can share these videos, and they can be seen worldwide. It's very easy to do. You can create an account for free and upload videos within minutes from either your phone or your computer. A lot of educational people use this to teach things. People use this to get advice, ask questions, and the rest. And the last one is Glogster, which I actually learned through SUNY Delhi. It is a website used where you can create like a template of like a poster kind of thing, or a presentation just on the computer screen. But the cool thing about this is you can add your own images. You can they have templates and they have graphics of their own that you can throw in, different shapes and different text to put in that make it look pretty creative. And you can also add onto the template videos and audio recordings, and you can share this publicly. You can share a link with your professor or other students so that other people can see this as well. So I've brainstormed some advantages and some disadvantages for both the student and the teacher on the technology used, and here's a Venn diagram explaining that. So the student benefits because there's a variety of options going anywhere from a Glogster to a Microsoft Word document, so they can really show their creative side. It's also fast. Internet's extremely fast at this point, so is typing on a computer, and most students that are in their 20s at this point have taken computer classes, so they have developed the computer literacy skills regarding keyboarding. And also there's tools that can effectively edit papers and effectively make sure that your grammar is correct so that you're not alone in the process. Also, if you look up on internet, there's evidence-based practice at the touch of a button that you can access through different library sources, etc. Also, most of these programs are very easy to use and always accessible. They're very user-friendly, and if you can't find what you're looking for, you don't know how to do something at the touch of a button using Google, you can find a tutorial on any of these different things. For the teacher, they can grade better because they won't be reading every single person's different handwriting, and there won't be questions as to what someone's saying because it'll be typed out. Organization, you're in good organization because you're on the computer looking at web pages or on a Word document. It also encourages collaboration between students, like in the last phase of the SAMR with the video posted to YouTube. These students will collaborate to make a video that they may have not done before the introduction of technology, and also communication, not necessarily regarding Microsoft Word or Glogster, but with YouTube, the teacher can communicate, and so can the student via comments on the student's video. So there are more advantages than there are disadvantages. I was able to brainstorm a few disadvantages. Students, so cost. Microsoft Word does cost money unless you get it from the school, where some schools offer it for free and other schools do not. Also, for Glogster, at least I noticed that there's a light version of it, which you use for most education programs, where you actually have a limit on how many you can do and how many actual Glogsters you can make and how many things you can post on the Glogster. So that's also a limitation because students don't have all the money in the world to spend on monthly subscriptions to things like Glogster, especially if they don't use it a lot. And also distractions. Students could be writing an essay and look up something on Google or on an evidence-based research program and get lost and get sucked into social media for an hour or two and not even know that they lost that time. So distractions, because if you're on the computer or you're on your phone doing work, things pop up, you get text messages. So technology can actually be a big distraction as well. Other disadvantages, including both the student and the teacher, is that its reliability is flawed. While technology can be very reliable, there's always things that happen. Computers die unexpectedly. Technological problems with Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, the internet, they all crash at some point, and sometimes your work isn't saved. So it's important to save your work as much as you can as soon as you remember to do it, so that these things don't happen. Also, inequality. Technology is expensive. Having a computer is expensive. Buying Word, signing up for Glogster, all that stuff, it can be kind of expensive. So it's not necessarily fair for the student or the teacher, because the teacher grades the student, but someone might have the means to create a really great assignment and submit their work, while another student can not be able to afford something and not be able to perform maybe a better presentation due to this factor. And also the loss of human interaction. Being so sucked into a computer, especially in this day and age, it can be detrimental to human interaction. People can lose their conversation skills and their personal skills. For a teacher, teachers have to be computer literate, and they must be literate in all the programs that they use. That means for someone who's 40 to 50 years old, who's an educator, they have to go back and learn these things because they weren't there when they were in school. So in order to teach and use technology, the educator has to be a master of the technology. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Also, lesson flow. If there are a lot of questions between student and teacher on technology used, how to use it, where they can find it, different resources, it can interrupt lesson flow and decrease the time that they have together to go over information. So I chose that modification would be the best option in this case, using the SAMR model out of all the different levels of SAMR. This option in this case gives the learner more options and allows them to have more creativity and decide more so what they want to do while advancing technology to improve their efforts in their assignment. With substitution, there's really no improvement. Augmentation, there's less improvement than there is in modification. Information, there is improvement, but it lacks the student creativity, like I said in the previous slide regarding the video with the case study. Some people are shy, would rather not necessarily be on video, so students may not like that idea. With the Glogster, there's an example to the right here. With Glogster, you can see that it's like extremely interactive, creative. You can add your own personality to it with different templates and different designs. You can also embed your own videos, also include your own recordings. So I think that it's honestly a more creative and fun way while improving your assignments through the use of technology as well. As far as presenting the SAMR model to a resistant faculty member, I would start off by going over what the SAMR model is really, the purpose of it, and all the stages of it. It's important to let the educator know that the SAMR model is really meant to enhance and transform education in a way that it hadn't been doing without technology incorporated into it. Starting with the enhancement stages of substitution and augmentation, these act as direct tool substitutes with no functional change or limited functional change in the augmentation phase. Modification allowing for tech to increase significantly for task redesign, and redefinition, which tech allows for the creation of new tasks previously inconceivable. So it's important to go over this and really, instill in the educator's mind that the purpose of it is to help education. And while there may be limitations to this model, it really is meant to help with student learners' educations. And it is okay to tell the teacher what the limitations are. Actually, according to Hamilton, Rosenberg, and Kuglu, they wrote a paper dedicated to the SAMR model, including some limitations, which actually there is limited qualitative and quantitative evidence to support the differentiation of SAMR models, of the levels of the models. And as a result, teachers involved in this educational technology integration interpret and represent the SAMR models in different ways. So there is a misinterpretation sometimes with the SAMR model stages, so it is important that this is well went over with the educator so that this doesn't necessarily happen to them. And it's important that they become a master of this model so that it doesn't happen to their students. The students misinterpret what the levels of SAMR are as well. So that's limitations in addressing the concerns of it. It's also important to provide examples, as I did it prior, using my clinical care plan example in the above slides regarding each of these, an example of those. Provide examples will help them get used to the process, and actually asking them for examples back would also help with it too. And providing reassurance. Sometimes, well, most of the time, if faculty members are resistant to implementing something new, and especially technology integrated, they probably don't know how to use it. So it's important that when asking and going over these things, like for example, in the technology used in this assignment here, Microsoft Word, YouTube, and Glogster, the educator will need to become competent in using these things, which can be a daunting task. I would advertise it so that education courses or tutorial videos will be implemented. They'll be emailed or taught in person live classes regarding these different websites if an educator isn't used to using them and needs more help on them, so that they become a master in these, because if they can't use them, then the students shouldn't be expected to use them as well. And it's always important to answer their questions, make sure that they understand completely, so that the faculty member will be better off and better used to the ideas of things, and not feel like this is something being forced on them. So answer their questions and address the concerns that they have as well.